Started. Good. So can I give everyone a big welcome? Thank you so much for joining us across, I think we've now got 4 continents from east to west. So welcome to all of you. This is another of our global networking events, but it's a rather special one because it's our 3rd birthday this month. Hence the the virtual background behind me and 1 or 2 other backgrounds that make the same point. So we'll come back to that and talk a little bit about what's been happening for 3 years, but it's pretty exciting to find ourselves celebrating that milestone. The topic today is burning issues in the advertising space. So for those of you I haven't met, my name is Hamish Sanderson. I'm the chair of White Report Global, which owns and operates this platform. I'm an international lawyer, dual qualified in the US and the UK, and a bit of a copyright buff, so we may get onto that topic later. Phil has already raised it. And I have with me Kinga Insa, who I think you all know, and we'll hear from her in a minute. Lavina Savenvaran, who's head of content and communications, our tech host, so any tech issues, she's the person to sort them out. Also pleased to be joined by another of our non-exec directors, Phil McCauley. And we have 3 very special guests I will introduce in a moment. But first, just a word or 2 for those of you who aren't familiar with our story about Mediaspace. We started thinking about the idea of going to an online platform in January of 2020 with incredible foresight, not a moment too soon, because shortly thereafter COVID hit and we were no longer able to meet in person. So we went online in May of 2020 on the Mediaspace platform, hence our 3rd anniversary tonight or this morning or wherever you are. The idea really was a very simple one, to connect professionals in media, in marketing, technology, law, policy making, data science, regulation globally, to provide you with a more interactive platform than you'd find elsewhere, allowing you to meet actual people, not just media profiles, and above all, to stay ahead of the curve in your professional lives and to find new business opportunities and new contacts in a more interactive way. And it's been, I have to say, a real success. We now have members from 70+ countries who've hosted 50 interactive roundtables, mostly online, some in person. We've recorded 200 or more video interviews with our members. We've started a premium membership that some of you belong to, the Global Leadership Club for leading change makers. And this September, we'll be launching our first full-day global event called the Mediaspace Global Changemakers Summit. And you all get a birthday present because for every Mediaspace member, we are offering for 3 days to match our 3 years, a 90% discount on that summit. So just for the next 3 days, you can obtain a 90% summit on that discount on that summit. Lavina will tell you more about that at the end. So just a few house rules before we start the conversation. We're going to have 2 main parts today, a panel with our special guests, that's public and live streamed, and then a networking session in which we can all participate, and that is not public. And in Zoom speak, that is a meeting and not a webinar, because we hate webinars. We don't want you to sit there unseen and unheard. So you'll be able to participate in this conversation with the panelists and with everyone else on this call. And that's because we believe that every great project, every great business begins with a single conversation. And that's what Mediaspace is all about. It's in our DNA. So meetings, not webinars. So can I ask you, if you haven't already done so, to put your full name and a company name, if you have one, on screen, so that when I see you waving or using the icon you want to speak, I can pick up your name. Also, if you haven't already signed up to Mediaspace Global as a member, please do so. It's free, but we like to have members only on these events, so please sign up. And if you'd like to share your name and email address or a MediaSpace profile, just put it in the chat so that you can stay in touch with other people on the call. One other thing, thinking about AI, we only allow humans into these events, so we'll remove any AI meeting assistants or anyone else who isn't a human being from this call. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from our experts, but that's all from me for now. I'd like to invite Kinga to say a few words of welcome, and then she'll hand back to me and we'll start the panel conversation. Kinga, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kinga Inca. I'm a media expert and the founder and CEO of mediaspace.global, and it's a pleasure to have you all today. I can't imagine we are celebrating the third birthday of Mediaspace. As you know, at Mediaspace, we are building a global ecosystem to break local and elitist business bubbles, and that's what we are doing today with you as well. We are going to discuss burning issues in the advertising space, as Hamish already mentioned, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting because we all know there are so many different challenges in terms of regulatory impacts, unintended consequences of them, digital transformation, copyright issues, the economic crisis, and a lot that is going on basically globally, that we need to stay somehow focused and understand the key points of what's going on. So that's why I'm very happy to have three very special experts from very different angles and professional areas to listen to them and then to talk to them because this is an opportunity for everyone to join the conversation. So I wanted to ask those who are watching this live stream that please join this call, and then you can have you can be part of the conversation after the panel discussion. Thank you so much. Hamish, over to you.
Thank you, Kinga. So let me now introduce our three experts. As Kinga says, they come from really interesting and very different backgrounds. So I'll start with Ellie Edwards-Scott, who is in the UK, and she's the co-founder of the Advisory Collective. We'll tell you more about that. Then welcoming back a regular attender, participant in our networking events, Walid Kanafani in Kuwait, who's the founder and managing director of Beyond Consulting Services. And from Texas, Peter Perez, co-founder and head of business development at Inverse.app. Now, the way this is going to work is I'll ask each of those three to introduce themselves very briefly in terms of what they are currently doing. And then in your first response, could you identify what was the challenge that you identified that made you set up your organization or made you do what you are doing? What is the challenge that your new company addresses? We'll go around the panel, and then I'll come back to you and say, you know, what were the solutions that you came across? What were the solutions to that challenge that you identified? Because I think you've all been founders, you've all been innovators, you've all been pioneers. So we'd really love to hear how you solve that problem that you've identified. So if I may, I'll start with you, Ellie, first. Tell us about the Advisory Collective and what was the challenge that you are trying to address with that organization?
Thank you so much, Hamish, and thank you for Kinga and everybody for inviting me to be part of your third birthday celebration. So I am Ellie Edwards-Scott. I am co-founder of the Advisory Collective. We are a digital consultancy that primarily helps ad tech companies land and expand and scale within the UK market. That's kind of our primary function. We also work with in-market companies. When I say in-market, businesses that have a footprint within the UK, helping them to scale and looking at strategies for their acceleration. That's a really important question, Hamish. So why the Advisory Collective? So we've been going just under 6 years. Myself and my co-founder, Lisa Monaldo, we're both ex-agency. We also ex-ad tech. We've both had our own technology, SaaS platforms that we've kind of run. I didn't build mine, but some very clever people built mine, but I was able to kind of run it from a commercial perspective. And when we identified were a couple of issues, but primarily there is so many innovative companies that want to come to the UK. The UK is a hub. It still is a global hub in terms of ad tech, in terms of media, in terms of advertising. And if any company really wants to make it, you know, they need to have a footprint within the UK market. But it's so competitive, it's so crowded, and it's difficult to break through that noise. So we identified that there's a lot of innovation coming in, but they were having difficulty breaking through that noise. Do I talk about how we solved it?
No, we'll leave it there.
Yes,
we can all think about the challenge, and hopefully you'll tell us how you met the challenge. And some of us will have guessed, but some of us won't. So,
okay, great.
We'll leave it there, Ali. Thank you very much for introducing yourself. Let me move on to Walid. As I say, founder and managing director of Beyond Consulting in Kuwait. So Walid, tell us about yourself, the company that you founded, and what the challenge was that you were trying to address when you founded the company. Walid.
Hi to everyone. First of all, happy birthday to Mediaspace for their 3rd anniversary and many years more to go. All the best, and assuring you my full support as usual. I'm Walid Kanafani, the managing director and the founder of Beyond Consulting Services, as well as I am the vice president, global vice president for education in Middle East and North Africa. As I am also in Kuwait for almost 30 years, coming from an advertising background from different schools. And I just found out that it's time to have something for my own, not for my own because for me, but for the industry itself. Because your experience that you have in 30 years, I think you should put it somewhere where everyone can benefit from it, myself and others. And simply, we need to be passionate. We need to have the passion. I'm with the IA for almost 25 years. I'm with CIMO for almost 5 years, which is Chartered Institute of Management Marketing. So I gathered all these data to have them in my consultancy firm. What I'm doing right now is I'm expert in strategic media planning with research and analysis. I do uplift skills and knowledge for students, senior students, coming out from university to business, as well as for young professionals. As well, I'm working with companies where they need to uplift skills and knowledge for their own employees. And for sure, I'm working with them based on the marketing industry and marketing and advertising. So I feel this is very challenging because I'm learning with them. Yes, I'm not this young, and there is every day there is something new and challenge, and I'm still learning. So simply, it's mutual, giving and taking from them. So yes, the industry is going through big challenges. And there is important challenges that we are facing, and for sure, the introduction of the technology and the quick digital transformation, the AI, the ChatGPT, and all other technologies make it so hard for us to accept it, and on the same time, it's something different that we need to learn about. So this is exactly where I'm aiming to achieve from my company toward others.
Thank you, Walid. If you were to identify one big challenge, the biggest one perhaps that you tried to address, what would that be at the moment in the ad space?
Yes, for me, I can talk about the third-party cookies, where people are not accepting it and they are going away from it. So I think we need to find a different solution how to know and to understand the behavior and the need of the consumers by giving some respect to their own privacy and to know exactly how we can use their data in a very polite way. Yes, we are advertisers. We need to benefit from these data, but we should use a very professional way to do it. And I think the most important part for this is we need to consider a few other choices or we need to manage or to get solution for this. And I think we need to work on contextual advertising, which means looking for the content and the context of where ads are shown to target the right people, and also the way how people react into it. So I think to the third-party cookies problem or challenge, I think we have a solution for it by having a contextual advertising concept where we can focus more on the context and the context in order to tackle exactly the need of the end users.
Okay, great. Well, we'll come back to that solution in a bit more detail. Let me turn to Peter Perez in Texas next, our third expert. Peter, what was the big challenge that you were trying to address when you set up your company? Tell us a little bit about the company and what the challenge was that you were looking at.
Excellent. Thanks, Hamish, and happy birthday to the MediaSpace team. I'm Peter Perez, co-founder and also head of business development and community with our Metaverse Gaming Studio. Our flagship product is essentially a virtual convention center for events and meetings that encompasses kind of all of the key components that you would require in order to host an in-person event at scale within a physical venue. However, we've created this turnkey event space that then can be created in its own siloed world, but has a lot of Web3 technology to help solve the problems that we're seeing with, third-party cookies and, no longer being accepted. I think Waleed brought up a really good point about there's more digital ownership of your participation online in activities. And we foresaw that there was going to be an increased issue in being able to connect with people online in real time and to be able to have access to the data that they would be willing to share. An end user has to opt in to a lot of that information as we get closer into Web3. So our solution, or really our solution to this problem, was let's create an immersive virtual experience. Some might call it the metaverse. I personally call it the clunkyverse. And it's at this stage, we firmly believe that websites and organizations are going to move towards having their own virtual office and meeting space to feel like that they are connecting in real time with anyone around the world at any time. And as that technology continues to grow and advance, there'll be more introduction to AI, virtual assistants, more capabilities of manipulating and changing these worlds so that, the true concept of a metaverse might be, in the distant future. It's not here. Anyone that tells you that the metaverse is here is, they're trying to sell you something that doesn't actually exist. Right now, we're using game technology for business use cases that allow education, job fairs, conventions, just traditional meetings, classroom settings. Just those base foundations is part of let's do the heavy lifting on the education of the technology first, solve some of the advertising problems along the way, but also increasing the ability to do things at scale online.
Thank you, Peter. Well, yeah, I think you managed to sneak in your solution there as well as the challenge. But I promised to come back to Ellie to give her a chance to talk a little bit more about the solution that you've come up with the Advisory Collective. So tell us a little bit more about that, Ellie, if you would.
Yeah, thanks, Hamish. So we do several things. So, companies that tend to approach us, or companies that we will partner with to launch them into the market, they already will have a proven business case in a lot of sense. Some of them are startups, they have some good technology, and they have a good idea. But that good idea, especially because we're dealing with a lot of CEOs and founders, you've built that idea from the ground up, so you think it's the best thing ever, and it might be quite a good proposition. However, is it the best thing ever? Maybe, but even if it is, how do you communicate that? And actually, is there a need for your product and service? So the first piece is actually doing that due diligence and assessing the market opportunity. If you look at the UK market, if you look at the digital spend within the UK market, if you look at, we've touched on metaverse, we've touched on privacy. I've got a client within the privacy space, and we're looking at the cookieless solution. There is so many different facets to our industry, and there are different products in solution, and it's actually recognizing if that solution is fit for purpose, not just for the right here, right now, but to kind of touch on what Peter was saying, where we're talking about metaverse. It's like, actually, has it got a future? Has it got legs? Will it be around in 6, 12, 18 months and beyond? So that first piece, that due diligence, is something that we really do insist upon if we're working with a potential client, because until we can assess what your market opportunity is, there's no point saying we're going to launch you into the market. And in terms of common mistakes, we've seen so many founders and so many startups just ignore that vital piece of research, identifying who your market is and what your potential market is, because unless you know what it is, then you don't know how to approach it. So once we have identified that there is a market, it's like, right, let's do a bespoke strategy for your different types of clients, and let's identify how you will speak to that client. It's changing things like, you know, if it's a US company, it's basic things like, let's change the language. If you have a Z in the presentation rather than an S, it's just localizing it. It's little things, it may seem, but actually those little bits, those little steps make a lot of effort. So we do that groundwork, we identify their ideal client profile, and then take them to market. Because we've all heard of companies, and we've all probably known colleagues that they've got that MD job or that COO job, and it's actually they're one person on the ground. So they're not really that MD, because ultimately you're kind of chief cook and bottle washer. You're doing everything from the ground up. So we take out that financial risk from a company by building that team for them, proving that use case, getting them business, and taking them to a level where they can then hire people in, because you've got proven case of and proof of concept, you've got business and revenue flowing through your books, and we can kind of hand it over for a team to successfully take to the next level.
Thanks, Ellie. You mentioned bespoke strategy. Can you just expand on that a little bit? How much of your solution is something that's off the shelf, that's off the rack, that's you know, applicable across the board? How much, and indeed, how much of it is applicable in a global environment as opposed to a national environment? How do you take account of cultural, language, other differences across the globe? Because I think you work globally. So
yeah, we definitely do work globally. Yeah, we definitely do work globally. And whilst our approach in terms of due diligence, go to market, client identification, go-to-market planning, we follow the same steps, but it really is bespoke. And because of that, we limit the amount of clients and also the types of clients that we work in. Because, you know, if you're we're bringing over a SaaS technology, which is a managed service, a lot of the US companies, they have a managed service environment, because for advertising agencies, they want that. Agencies in the UK market, they want to have their people hands on keyboards. So you have to have a self-serve module. So we'll work with the development teams to build out self-serve. That can be everything from a UI, that can be everything to, you know, just making sure it does what it should do on the tin. So it is that bespoke strategy. And because of that, our minimum engagement with the client would be 6 months, because it's not something you can take off the shelf and run within 3 months. You can't land and launch and have some success in the UK market in that time. And even that 6 months, that's just really setting the groundwork. And that's, you know, it's that constant engagement with the client. But it takes time, and people need to realize that it takes time and it takes investment. And if they don't, we'll say, actually, we're not the right partners for you, because if you're not willing to put that investment at the beginning, then actually, I don't know how we're going to kind of help you scale. So, yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Ellie. Wally, turning back to you. You talked about third-party cookies as a particular challenge. What are you doing to address that? And are there other challenges that are different in nature from that? What's the range of challenges that you're dealing with in your solution?
First of all, it's an educational part, so we should inform them exactly the benefit behind this, and that we need to use this through a proper way. We need to respect the rules and the privacy. So it will take some time, but in one day, they should admit it and they should accept it, as much as we know exactly how to do it. First, there is one thing here. I just want to say that I'm fully aligned with what Peter said, that existing of new technology like the Web3, the metaverse, and the gaming and AI are also changing our advertising landscape, coming from an advertising background. And we can use this technique and these technologies to create immersive experience for people. But of course, we need to respect their privacy and also their preferences while doing so. So I can give you an example here. So you can use a virtual try-on experience to let people interact with product in a fun way. Yeah, let's say it's a pure active engagement, pure interaction. So all these technologies, people, they should accept it, and because this is exactly the future of our industry landscape when it comes to advertising. And also, of course, I cannot mention all these because they are too much and a lot, and we are still under probation, but I can say something here that there is a lot of opportunities, not only for advertisers, for brands, and as well as for consumers. So if I want to talk, let's say, by giving an example, the AI. So for advertisers, AI can help them create personalized ad that truly resonate with people. So by analyzing data, advertisers can understand consumers' behavior and preferences. So I think allowing them to target specific group as well. So this is exactly how it helps for advertiser. And when it go to, let's say, to the brand, apart from that, they can support important causes by showcasing the value of their brand, and also they can and also by leveraging the existing of the technology, they can have an interactive experience with the consumers. This is from my point of view. And when it comes to consumers as well, it's important for them, as for the advertisers, as for the brand, because simply here they have more control and power over the advertising landscape. So by giving research, by having research product, read reviews, and actively participate in board conversation, I think this will help them a lot, having a big interest towards the consumers.
Great, thank you, Walid. Peter, how do you address the global dimension to your business? How do you deal with the differences across the world that your clients must be facing?
Yeah, I think the first problem primarily is time zone, right? Not everyone can participate at the same time, and there needs to be some kind of permanence with the approach and the kind of the activations that are created, which are primarily centered around events. Events are a really great way to bring people into a technology to then participate in a very specific call to action in order to have discovery. And that could be, right, discovery of your peers, your colleagues, a brand, maybe some fun gamified interaction. I think events personally are really interesting for me because that's my background. In game technology, it seems to be a really great tool to create some permanence so that your global audience can participate even while you're sleeping. Being able to scale up beyond, the limitations of a physical venue, was you're spending 10, 20, 30,000, sometimes six figures into creating these pop-up activations at a very specific event space. Now we can do these things at scale online at a fraction of the cost, sometimes 5, even as low as like 2% of what those costs are to do things in, with physical assets, hiring, travel and lodging, food, staffing, printouts of product that you want to distribute. These events are evolving in a way to help get beyond some of these barriers where your end users want to protect their privacy. PII is going to be very important and part of practically every conversation that we have with a client, especially in, like the medical industry, for fundraisers, especially for, senior care and elders that might be using these technologies for education, for resources and services. So it isn't just for kids having fun anymore. These gaming technologies are providing business use cases at scale, and it's creating a way for there to be permanence in that. What I mean by that is you can leave it, come back, and it's still going to be there, months and years from now. So you can go back and kind of take a look at that event space or that, virtual destination and have a social experience, but also being incentivized to participate in it. If I'm going to give up any of my personal data, I want something for it. And social media traditionally they are one of the worst ones at taking your data and then monetizing it and profiting from your participation to these platforms. That is changing. And I think we'll start to understand the full realization of that here within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. We're going to move to the networking session in a minute, but before I do that, Peter, have you got one piece of advice you'd like to share with people on the call, particularly those who are starting up as you did to found a new company? Or what would your one piece of advice be?
I think is you might have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have full alignment with your team, then it's not going to go anywhere. And that's just the fact of the matter. If you don't have focus and everyone is kind of working in separate directions, but you only come together occasionally to kind of to share progress, that's just the honest truth about any organization. You need alignment, you need vision, but more importantly, right, the greatest project ever that you could think of, if you don't have the team to execute on that, it's going to be very challenging. But it doesn't mean it's not worth trying. Don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. Walid, what's your one piece of advice for those on the call?
I will say stay open to learning, adapting, and seeing a new opportunity, learning new skills, taking on a different role of exploring emerging technology, stay curious and embrace a growth mindset. So these are all points very important for us to grow with this changes, with the new technology. So network and build relationship, connect with professionals, stay in contact with professionals, networking like what we're doing right now. So all these, it help us improve our skills and knowledge. Hamish.
Very good. Thank you, Ellie. Coming to you, Ellie. Just also, Ellie, as well as your one piece of advice, I was curious about where you perhaps see scope for ad tech innovation in your field. Perhaps you could just give us a thought on that, and then your one piece of advice.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of scope for innovation, it's huge. I mean, this is why, I'm in the industry still. It's every day, every month, you're reading about something new. I mean, if you look at where AI is going, if you look at, ChatGPT and how that's already the adoption of that and what that means. And, we've still got such a way to go. In terms of where our innovation's going, it's how we actually have the skills and hire people in with the skills to adapt to these technologies, because that's actually the growing chasm, because innovation is just going one way, and we need to, as humans and as employers, get those skills in to adapt to those technologies. So yeah, it's really exciting in terms of the innovation that's happening at the moment. And in terms of one piece of advice, hiring experts. When you're a founder and when you're a business owner, it can be, you've got a lot of tunnel vision, especially if you've built your technology, you've grown your technology, you've worked with people who are all immersed in your environment. But actually, you need to put your head above the parapet, and you need to hire an expert or just speak to experts that can help you and give you advice, because they've got a different outlook. You need to look outward to build and grow.
Great. Thank you, Ellie. Well, look, we've had a fantastic conversation with our experts, and that will continue, but in a different format now. I'm going to bring everybody into the networking session. We're going to end the live streaming, so this will be a private conversation.